Today we're going to take a look at old versus new logos to see which one is better. Now I'm not really sure why companies constantly feel the need to redesign their logos, but today we're going to dig a bit more into it. Let's do this. Alright, so our first logo today is Dunkin' Donuts, and they did a couple of things. So first off, they got rid of donuts, and they also got rid of coffee. So I'm not really sure what Dunkin' is trying to market at this point. I don't know if they're even selling anything to you guys at this point. And it seems they did this because America runs on Dunkin', not Dunkin' Donuts. I guess it wasn't obvious enough. But I actually don't mind this one. I think at some point you had to drop the food that's associated with your restaurant. It's like calling Starbucks, Starbucks coffee, or McDonald's, McDonald's burgers. I don't understand why they got rid of the coffee though. That was kind of cute. Just leave like the D on it. All right, so now we have Uber with a massive change to their font. I've always considered this to be one of the worst redesigns because it's literally just a font change. Like, I don't know if you could even call this a redesign. You know what's throwing me off? I don't know what this font is, but something about those tails at the end of the U and the B, like at the bottom, it just makes it look a bit like amateur. But yeah, pretty weak overall. I think I prefer the old one. Next up, we have Santander. If you don't know what Santander is, it's a European bank. I think they're out of like Spain. I could be absolutely wrong on that. So I think they just inverted the colors. So they made the text red and the background white. And that looks to be it. Maybe like the logo like got smaller or like a bit more precise. Oh, and the font changed too. I think that's fine. The old one was actually terrible. It looks like Santander. It's like a Christmas bank or something. I do like the new one though. It looks more trustworthy. Okay, so now we have Century 21, and it looks like they went from a real estate company to a film studio. Like you'd see them right before like an A21 movie. A21? A23? I think it's A23. But yeah, I don't know what this is trying to do. I get that they want like that semicircle to look like a C, but overall it doesn't really speak to real estate at all. The new one is really bad. US Open. All right, so off the rip, the reason I don't love the old US Open logo is because it looks like a baseball. If you're a foreigner who's never heard of the US Open and you just see that, you'd think it's a baseball. I get that baseballs and tennis balls are the same exact shape and like the same structure, but baseballs are white, and that is white. The new one, the only issue I have with it is everything. It actually looks really bad comparatively. Like they made the US lowercase. I get that like you want company names to kind of be simplified, but you can't simplify the United States. It's like the boldest name in the world. At least up top, they made the tennis ball yellow. But then again, tennis balls aren't yellow. Tennis balls are green last time I checked. This is literally the IKEA colors. I think they need to redesign the redesign, and then you could talk to me. All right, next up is Animal Planet. A lot of people consider this to be one of the worst redesigns of all time. I don't know why people think that though, because I think it's actually pretty cool. They went from Animal Planet in a bunch of jumbled letters to an actual animal, an elephant, and it looks like a planet because it's like round. I think that's what they're going for. The old color scheme was terrible too. It was just like 3 different greens, and I never understood why the M on animal is sideways to look like a 3. Again, my main issue is like they lowercased everything. I don't know why they're so interested in making things lowercase. This is gonna ruin an entire generation of kids. They're gonna be writing in their essays like, Animal Planet is my favorite network, and they're not going to capitalize Animal Planet at the beginning of the sentence, and then teachers are going to go berserk. Teachers like myself. All right, so now we have Mailchimp, which went from cursive to Curious George. Don't really understand what they were doing with this. I think it would be helpful if I knew what Mailchimp does. Let me look into this. So Mailchimp is a marketing automation platform and email marketing service. Boring. All right, so the logo doesn't even really matter then because it's not like speaking to an actual product that people care about. Who's using Mailchimp? If you're watching this video and you've used Mailchimp, tell me why. With that being said, I like the old one. Google AdWords. Is it called AdWords? I thought it was Google AdWorks. So what did Google do here? They changed Google logo to be absolutely gray, and then they put in one of like their little triangle thingies. I mean, I don't love that they made Google gray, but I do love this new logo. I feel like it would be best if they combined this with this. That's my answer. All right, moving on to Comfort. I think it's Comfort Sweets. So they went from a sun with 4 different colors, and it looks like a full circle, to a C. And it looks kind of 3D, which is, I guess, cool. I actually stayed in a hotel once. I'm not sure if it was like Comfort Inn, but there was like Cheerios in the AC unit. And so it was like blowing air, but the air smelled like Cheerios. If it was Comfort Inn's, then shame on you. But I think it might have been like the Renaissance or something. Hopefully they don't own it. It's fine. I don't love it. I don't hate it either. I don't think I loved the one before anyways, so I guess okay. All right, so next up is Ogilvy and Mather. And now it's just Ogilvy. So I guess there was a falling out or somebody died. Hopefully not. So they just literally dropped Mather. What happened to Mather? If I was Mather, I'd be pissed. Like, imagine you're a co-founder and you get like cut off for the sake of conciseness and punchiness. Poor guy. Though I will say the new one's like a lot more simple. Balmain. So I've never been a fan of like any of these fashion brands. Literally every single fashion brand looks like this. It's just like their name in font and maybe they put the city in which they started. But at least they're making a move towards a B. That's kind of cool. They still keep their name at the bottom, but at least they expanded a little bit. I think this looks a little bit too much like Chanel now. Because, like, you know how Chanel has, like, the two things kind of, like, intersecting so you could see the lettering? I mean, it's okay. I don't really love the old one to begin with, so I'm not really, like, distraught that it's gone. But the new one's, like, fine. The Guardian. So The Guardian, what is that? Like a news network, right? It's in the UK, I think. So they went from lowercase to color scheme to now uppercase for the first letter and just one color scheme. And they just did black. That's very risky. But I think if they're going back to their roots of being just like a true newspaper, like a publication, it makes a lot of sense. So good on them. I actually really love this one. Now we have Slate Magazine. They went from Slate to Slate, but the A is cut off. I don't know what they're trying to do. Again, kind of interesting because they went from like the classic to all uppercase. We've been seeing all lowercase. Now we're looking at all uppercase. For that reason, I like it. I also like that purple a bit better. It looks more like maroony, like a darker one, closer to black almost. The A just makes no sense though. I can't get behind this in good faith. All right, Diet Coke. So we have Diet Coke versus Diet Coke. I don't know how I feel about this. It's very easy at times to default to your nostalgia and be like, you know what? I like the old Diet Coke can. But if you really look at it, no, it kind of looks too much like a Michelob Ultra, like one of those light beers in a can. They got rid of the black in exchange for white. And now we're just looking at Diet Coke with a red stripe. I think it's more refreshing in the one on the right. Like, I feel like if I'm grabbing the nice cold one, like a nice Diet Coke to go with my hamburger, I think I'd reach for the one on the right. So did they redesign the can for all the Cokes or just Diet? Because that would be interesting. Because then it's like, oh, Diet Coke, we want you to be skinnier, hence the skinnier can. Wait a second, I think they're onto something. All right, I'm gonna go with the new one. I think psychologically it's gonna make people think that Diet Coke is actually healthy. All right, Sky News, pretty boring redesign. They just dropped this little boulder and they just changed the font. Color stayed the same. Oh, nope. They lowercase the N. When in doubt, I guess lowercase your letters. Sky News, I think it's like a British newscast, whatever, I don't care. The Emmy Awards. So they went from Emmys to now, I'm pretty sure that nobody can confidently say that's the Emmys. This was an absolute waste of a redesign. Toys R Us, where a kid can be a kid. Toys R Us went bankrupt, right? Toys R Us isn't even a thing anymore. They went from Toys R Us to Toys R Us, and all they did was like get rid of the R Us. Honestly, I don't think the redesign's enough to save them. Kids are just doomed now. FC Barcelona. Okay, so I'd be lying to you to say if I cared about this logo because it's obviously soccer related and I don't watch soccer. But what I will say is that the ball on the bottom looks very much like a volleyball. That does not look like a soccer ball, and they didn't even change it. Looks like they have some flags up top. I don't know. I don't really care. Like, what do they do here? They got rid of they got rid of a stripe. They got rid of the letters. They just simplified it. Whatever. Now we have Burberry. Burberry did exactly what Balmain did. Same exact thing. All they did was like bold and darken their letters. I don't know how these fashion companies get away with the most simplified logos and get praised for it. It's like my logo for my channel was Sambucha. But then again, my banner says subscribe. So who am I? Which you should do, by the way. All right, time for American Express, which I like this. I think this whole gradient thing into white is a little weird. So simplify it. They kept the exact font, it looks like, and all they did was darken the background. Perfect. Good job, American Express. John Lewis. You gotta be some narcissist to name your company your name. Your whole company is John Lewis. That's like making my company Sam. And then I guess the board of directors went to John Lewis. They were like, hey, can you like throw us a bone? And he's like, sure. John Lewis and Partners. This guy, man. And then he also made his name more capitalized, as if he's important. Who is John Lewis? I don't know what you do. All right, now we have Weight Watchers. So we have Weight Watchers, and it's a black gradient all the way to light gray, and it's WW on top. Yeah, I've looked at this one like a couple times. I go back and forth on it. Like, I get what they're trying to do, putting like the W's on top of each other. Actually, I take that back. This is a terrible logo. You need to include the word Weight Watchers. People aren't gonna see WW and get inspired to lose weight. Like Weight Watchers, the whole appeal of it is like, I wanna watch my weight. What company should I go to? oh, Weight Watchers. Now it's like, oh, I want to watch my weight. Where do I go? WW? Throw one more W and you're the beginning of every single URL. So they say that the redesign stacks the W as if to say wellness equals weight loss. How am I able to get that from that? Gotta keep the old one. Rolling Stone. All right. So when I think of Rolling Stone, I think of like the 1980s, like rockers. Oh no, that's Hard Rock Cafe. The new one just like, it loses all personality. The whole thing about being bold and like outlined in black, like it speaks to what Rolling Stone was trying to do. Now they've just simplified it and they have no identity. That's the issue with simplifying your logo and just simplifying any sort of design. The biggest thing you're doing is sacrificing your original brand identity. I can't get behind this one. Rotten Tomatoes, of course, the source of all great movie reviews. I like it. I mean, the only reason I like it is because before it was terrible. So I like the new one. Pepto Bismol. I think the funniest thing about medicines doing redesign is that people think that branding matters. It's like you're gonna go to a Walgreens or a CVS and you see Pepto Bismol on the shelf and you really have like a bad stomach ache and you're like, you know what? I don't love that branding. Like, of course you're gonna grab the Pepto Bismol regardless of what the logo looks like. The new one actually looks like Petco. I think they actually ripped the exact font. I'm pretty sure the E is like slanted like that. And why'd they make it purple? The medicine is pink. It's like known to be like that bubblegummy pink. That's a weird one. I don't think I'm behind that. But then again, it doesn't matter at all. Now we have Flipboard. Don't know what it is, but I already like the redesign a lot better because the old one is terrible. So the logo doesn't make sense regardless. Like, why would a social magazine, one, be called Flipboard, and two, have that logo? I get that it looks like an F, but it also looks like Legos or Roblox. But given that it's their logo, I think they did a good job of improving it. So good job. GoDaddy. Woo! Whenever I see GoDaddy, it's like there's a party going on, like, woo! So I think it used to be a perfect logo. You had Daddy himself on the left. You had the black color, which I think is the perfect color for a font, especially when you're like a website, especially back then. And then I like they kept the little trademark in the top right, because GoDaddy itself is like you claim web domains, so you're kind of like claiming trademarks, so it's like kind of meta. Now it looks like they went green. Looks like they're a landscaping company. Can't get behind it. I get that they're trying to like have a color that pops more, but can't get rid of Daddy. Now we have DuPont. It just went from old to new. It looks like a football kind of now. If anything, it's a little harder to read. And the P and the U, there should be a little bit of separation. Like, I like that they did that before. So like I could read it as DuPont instead of like DuPont. Maybe that's just me not being good at French. But I think if you're gonna get rid of the circle, at least complete the job. Like, they kept those little things on the edges and they look just like the crust of a bread. If you wanted to simplify it, just get rid of those two things on the right and the left and then just simplify it to just be the text. So it's almost there. It's fine. All right, so next up we have Slack. Slack is the company that a lot of corporate people use to communicate. It's like their Microsoft Teams or their Discord basically, because you're probably not a corporate person if you're watching this. If you are, that's pretty cool. I used to be one. What's up? Anyways, they went from a pretty basic one with like a cool little like multicolor hashtag to now like this blossoming flower logo, which I guess they're trying to like show, you know what it might look like? Neurons trying to connect. That's kind of the vibe I get, which kind of makes sense with what Slack does. Honestly, good job, Slack. All right, so next up is Firefox, which is arguably one of the worst redesigns in history. So we went from this iconic Google Chrome competing web browser, Mozilla Firefox, with him hugging the earth, showing that everything's okay. Whatever you want to search, I'm here for it. And they turned it into that. I don't know what that is. It's very hard for me to describe it. I think they were trying to do a fox. I also don't get why they have two separate logos now. You went from one logo, you broke it up, and you lost like the best part of both of them. I think the best Firefox iteration was the very first Firefox logo because it was a duck that was on fire, which was pretty cool. But definitely prefer the old one here. Nike and Undefeated. So I have no idea what this is, but I understand why I've never heard of it because that logo on the right is terrible. All right, so the original logo was just a pink Nike logo on top of the letter 5 in Roman numerals. And on the right, they took that, got rid of the Nike logo, and then put into some sort of crest. You got to fire the designer either way. But if you could only pick one person to fire, I'd fire the new guy because the new guy had no idea what he was doing. Papa John's, good old Papa, better ingredients, better pizza. Truth be told though, Papa John's is the worst of the three chains. It goes Domino's, Pizza Hut, Papa John's. I didn't know that they actually redesigned the logo. I understand why they did it. I know they had to kind of like move away from the affiliation with Papa John, but they still kept Papa John's. You should have maybe changed it to like Papa Partners. I think Papa John's is going for what Domino's did. Which honestly I get, because Domino's is one of the top performing stocks over the last 15 years, and it's the best pizza. No matter what they do though, they can't kill the Papa. I like the old one better, slightly. Now we have IHOP. Remember when IHOP used to be IHOB? Like they were the International House of Burgers. I don't know if that was an April Fool's joke or just like terrible marketing. The moment I saw them do International House of Burgers, I kind of knew it was like a marketing scheme, and I swore to never go to IHOP because of it. So they thought they got a lot of free publicity, but instead they got people actively not going to IHOP. But what I will say, and maybe I will give them a chance because this is very well done, the IHOP logo, the new one, is really cool. How they do that little smiley face. The O and the P together, and the way that the P drips down kind of looks like a nose. You know, like a good place to go. Get some whipped cream on your pancakes, get some bacon, get like the Denny's Grand Slam. Oh, that's an entirely different restaurant. But you know what I mean, the International House of Pancakes. It's like a happy place, so good job. Best Buy. It looks like Best Buy did a massive overhaul. It went from their whole Best Buy on the tag in yellow, iconic, to a very simplified thing, and they just left that little tag hanging off of the Y. I don't know how I feel about that. Part of me wants to say good job, because when you really think about it, that's how it should be. Like the tag hangs off of the object. So it's kind of cool and it like makes sense, but it also doesn't look as poppy. Like the cool thing about driving by a Best Buy is that the sign, kind of like a Blockbuster, was in that like yellow background with the black text. But now, what do the signs even look like? I feel like I have to revisit a Best Buy to see if it catches my eye. So I don't want to make a strong determination until I see it. I'll say old for now. The Travel Channel. So they went from Travel Channel to Trivial Channel. What is the whole thing with like companies dropping vowels? So first they get rid of all capital letters, and now they're getting rid of all the vowels. What did vowels ever do to people? There's only 5 of them, sometimes 6. If you're on the Travel Channel, you're probably somebody older who doesn't really like understand like Airbnb and the internet and how to like properly travel independently. And if you see TRVL, you're not gonna understand that it's like the new meta for design. You're just gonna be like, where's the A and the E? I'm 75 years old and I want to go to like California. Both are terrible, but at least keep your name right. Rinse. So Rinse used to be a good logo to me, and now Rinse turned into like this whole melody of just terribleness. Looks like spaghetti strings or something just going through. So Rinse is a laundry company. Before it had like its Airbnb vibes with like the 2 shapes overlapped. They had that cool like little raindrop. They had the blue because blue represents water, and it just looked like very detergent-y. Like it looked like a laundry company. And now it doesn't. Like I said, it looks like a protein pasta company or something. Definitely the old one. The Chicago Sun-Times. Okay. First of all, the name itself is terrible. Chicago Sun-Times. The only positive about this is that the old one was so bad that you can't get worse than it. Like, why is Chicago that small on its side? Why is Sun-Times, like the N and the T, being overlapped by this seemingly meaningless object that's clearly not even a sun? It looks like a pin or something. So even though the new one looks like a Chinese restaurant, you really can't get much worse. This American Life. So we went from This Amer-I-Can Life. Did people in the old days just like not know how to spell? How could you be the CEO of This American Life and approve that logo? Clearly this isn't doing anything for me. The old one was really bad. New one looks a bit better just because they put American together. Now we have Mad Magazine, which went from like a bold Rolling Stones type thing in the red to a pink, which I actually like a lot better. I think it makes a lot of sense because arguably the only color that's more bold than a red is pink. Glamour. We went from Glamour to Glamour. So the first thing I notice here is that Glamour is spelled wrong. I'm pretty sure Glamour is spelled without a U. So this must be like a British company. So they went from arguably the simplest logo of all time in that black, and they went for this old Hollywood look. Looks like La La Land or like Les Mis, like something with like that shadowy black background. I think it's cool to throw it back sometimes, right? Bring it back to the basics. So Ad Age went from advertising age to ad age. Let's just take this at face value. They simplified advertising to ad, which honestly is a pretty smart thing now because nobody calls it advertisements, they call it ad. They made it bold, they changed the font. I like it. Going rapid fire now because I have to use the bathroom. Gosh, they went from the normal Cadillac logo to what? This just ruined my entire day. I'm sorry guys, I can't go on anymore. I think I'm gonna end the video right here. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe, watch these videos if you want to. This just ruined my day. See ya.